back out.
Oh,
Yeah, you hit the top one, that's the agenda for Wednesday night.
no.
Father, I don't know if he's going tonight or not. They don't need us every Tuesday.
I know you put it in the binder, and, you know, as we are.
Oh, yeah.
We can do that,
I
seriously.
do
There's supposed to be something.
Father, I don't want to go over the bar shop. Seeing as they tend to be late.
Do they?
I don't think
Well, they
they'll
will
do
start
it.
at 7.
Blaming himself, that just finally come up.
Yeah.
Okay, take a while.
I think so.
I'll talk
Took a while to figure out where it was.
Are you on this thing now?
I think Ron needs to send it.
Hey, Jerry.
Okay, you all ready?
I know.
Are we good?
We're good.
Okay, we have a call meeting for the Tracy City Council, regular meeting for Monday, July 26th. Pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will you do us the honors, or would you rather not?
That's fine.
Thank you. Yeah.
Good and gracious God, we thank you for gathering us here this evening. You are the source of all good, all resources, and all justice. We ask that you be amongst us this evening as we do the work before us, that we might do it with patience, with grace, and with goodness for the good of this city and for its citizens. We ask all of this in the name of the God who is forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Can you make this bigger? That was easy. I tried that and it didn't, my little fingers didn't work. There it is.
Approval of the agenda?
I do have something, and Peggy couldn't be here tonight, so we're gonna push that to another meeting. We didn't give her enough warning, and she already had plans.
Okay.
It's already been announced, but we'll do it at a future city council meeting.
Okay.
So take number 4 off the agenda, please.
Do I need to, do we need to correct on the agenda if we're gonna let St. Mary's go?
We can, if you would like to move that all the way up, you know, to, I think we could probably get it done, you know, in the next 15 minutes before the public hearing. If you want to do that, we could certainly make that happen since we have people
Is that
here
okay
to
with you
talk
guys?
about that.
We don't want you to have to wait all night.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that would be moving number 10, which is now number 9A2, up to basically now, after this. Yes.
Okay. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to talk about something that is not on the agenda? Okay.
I think we need a motion to approve the agenda as
Oh,
amended too.
sorry.
It's all right.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as changed.
Second.
First and second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now that we skipped a few jumps.
So St. Mary's Street width, this is change order number 1 to the Phase 3A2 street project. We have, I think, representatives from the parish as well as parishioners here, and Kyle from ISG is here as well. I'm going to let Shane, can you come up? Actually, do you want to, either one of you, Shane or Kyle, can just explain the change order that's in front of City Council.
What, Kyle?
No, yeah, there you go. That's passing the buck is what that is. Exactly.
Speaking up first.
He represents us. Lisa got you behind me. So change order 1 is the consideration for adjusting the street widths on 6th Street on the project. Currently, the streets are designed to the city standards of 32 foot for a typical residential street, 36 feet for streets in front of churches and schools, and then there are none on this 3A2 phase, but 43 feet is a typical for some of the larger collector roads and county roads in town here. But this change order is to adjust the 2 blocks of 6th Street from, let's see, from Morgan to Harvey and from Harvey to Roland, those 2 in front of the church and the block north of the church are currently designed to be 36 feet wide. After the last council meeting, there was direction to adjust those, the block directly in front of the church to the wider 43 foot, and the block next to that north of there back down to the 32 foot narrower street width to offset some of those widths and to realign with the rest of the street for snow plowing and maintenance, so that we have, you know, one consistent line of curb further north from there. So that's what we're looking at tonight for change order 1.
And I heard you correct, say 32 feet?
Yep.
The next block?
Yep.
What's the total amount of the change order count?
The construction amount, let's see, I think that the total between construction and engineering after going through a few more things here was about 50, let's see here,
15.90.
Oh, the construction cost was, yeah, $1590.94, and then the engineering was that $3,600 or not to exceed that.
Right, so the change order, council, is just for the construction. The
Sure.
engineering is on a separate contract. So it's just $1,500 actually in construction. is
Construction
all to
costs.
do this.
Yep.
And another $3,600 for engineering, not to exceed.
So the math is 5199.94.
Yeah, that's going to be the total amount, but
Yeah,
today it's just $1,500.
Oh,
Yeah,
For the
because it's just the
amount.
construction. That's the only thing we have to do the change order on, because that's the contract that we have with rural development. We have to go through that process with them.
That's the addition of the wider street and then the reduction of some costs for the narrower block there.
Mayor and council, the other thing that's not on here is how that's being paid for. It's kind of assumed, well, it's not assumed anything, actually. We didn't get any clear direction as to how you wanted to proceed on that. And we'd had some communications with the church as well, you know, who expressed that there might be some willingness to, you know, discuss some kind of cost sharing, but I'll let them speak, you know, for themselves, you know, on that issue. That's not an issue we necessarily have to address today. It wouldn't hold up the project at all. And so our thought is we can take that up at a future time as you know, time would allow. It's a relatively minor amount, you know, overall, so it's not going to shouldn't affect the whole project ultimately.
So right now, we can make a resolution or a motion to approve the resolution, and that's just that we are approving that one block in front of the school is widened to 43 feet. And the next block over is decreased down to 32.
That's correct.
That's all that we would be approving to approve the resolution.
That's correct.
To move things forward.
That's correct. That's all you're approving today.
Then I will make the resolution.
Do you want to hear from the people that are here today on this topic first before you go there?
Well, I don't think so. I mean,
It's up to you. I'm just asking the question.
Yeah, I guess
I know they're here.
I don't know what we're going to hear from them. There's no money coming out or anything.
I'm just asking the question because they're here, and
I guess I
it's
will
totally up
ask
to
you guys feel a need to get up and express your desires, or if we make the motion to approve it to be widened to 43, we can just move forward with it? Okay.
We'll make a motion.
Then I will make,
we have to do with the financing.
yep. So this has nothing to do with finances.
Nope.
So I will make the motion that we approve resolution 2021-73.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Teagues.
Aye.
Towle.
Aye.
Van Dyke.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Koopman.
Aye.
Mayor Corman.
Aye.
Thank you, Mayor.
So now I think the decision is if we want to discuss the payment of it.
And I think we might as well do that tonight as long as they're here. They don't have to come back. Shouldn't take us more than 5 minutes.
Do we know what the final payment?
$51.90.94.
Well, it's not to exceed 3,600, but is that the number?
We don't know for a fact yet because all the engineering hasn't been done. We know it's no more than $3,600 for engineering. We know the construction costs are what you see in front of you.
1,500.
1,500, yeah.
Oh, I'm just asking.
Has a preliminary assessment hearing been held on this project?
No, and we probably wouldn't have that until 2022, until the project is complete, and then we'll know what the actual cost of the project is, with change orders and, whatever else that we find, contingency and things like that.
I think it'd be appropriate just to wait till the assessment hearing.
I guess I do too. I mean, we don't really know where we're at. We kind of have an idea where we're at. So you folks have the option to try to figure out where you want to go with it, and then we'll have to figure out where we're going to go, and then we'll get together.
We can certainly do that,
Right.
if that's your direction, is to wait until we do the assessment hearing and then have a discussion about it at that time. We certainly can.
But we know it's not going to be any more than $5,200, right?
Right.
So why?
I think we
We really
want to
need to
just
wait.
make a decision instead of having this hang for another year, and then, God forbid, we have different council members or something, and we're going down this rabbit hole again. At least we'd be able to pull out some figures and say this is what was decided. I just don't want to kick a can down the road. We kick enough down the road. I'd rather we make a decision, but that's just my 2 cents worth.
I feel the same way.
We certainly could, let me make this suggestion, we certainly could, meet separately, with them and, have a discussion about what an equitable, arrangement would be, financial arrangement would be. Because I don't think we have a sense, from the church, what that is, and so you could certainly, as a city council, say this is what, we would ask for, or you could negotiate it directly right now if they're prepared to do that. Otherwise, we could have a side conversation offline and then come back at the next council meeting with the resolution. That's up to you.
I can ask Father a direct question, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I can put him on the hot seat.
If you could come up into the podium.
Are you prepared to be able to
Yes,
to
absolutely.
make a decision for the parish? Okay, I just wanted to make sure you weren't going to then have to take
No,
it somewhere and-
I'm set to go depending on
Okay.
what you say to us.
Okay,
So what are you guys thinking?
Our counsel said to me that you all talked about paying the whole cost. I said I found that very unlikely, and that I'd be willing to talk about what would be equitable between the city and us to pay.
What do you think that is?
Well, that's what I'm trying to avoid saying, as you know.
Well, I'll throw this
I
out.
think that would half.
Okay, that's what I was going to throw out. Would half be...
If the city would do half, and then we would do half, and none of our neighbors are going to be assessed for this, it would just be the church and the school,
Yeah.
yes.
and it would come on our assessment at the end of the project as an additional amount.
So that additional amount will be over like
70.
how many years?
500.
Yeah.
Well, we would get to decide, wouldn't we, if we wanted to pay it all at once? I mean,
Yeah.
I've only done these assessments in other cities. You can do it all at once, or you can pay it over time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that would be a decision we make at that time, depending
Yeah,
on our
for you
financial
guys. Yeah.
situation.
So
But we think that would be
I'm-
equitable.
I'm perfectly fine with that.
Just short of
Come on.
$3,000.
Yeah.
I didn't do the math exactly, but it's...
$2,600.
If you're okay with that, what we would probably want, what we usually do in these kinds of situations is we obtain an agreement that's essentially a waiver that says they won't, protest an assessment, and it's the same thing we do when somebody wants to add, a driveway or something like that and pay extra for it and get that extra assessment. And so we could, Shane could work on that paperwork that we do as a normal, of course, bring that to the church, and then ultimately, just do it that way. And then it would show up when we do the assessment hearing in 2022 as something that was already done.
And once you figure out your true cost,
Once we figure out our true costs, we can make that work. So it doesn't. If I hear kind of some general agreement, that 50/50 makes sense here. So, we're happy to do it that way, and then we just bring it back with the assessment hearing, if that works for everybody.
The only caveat we would have is if the cost for some reason would go way up, that once we reach a $10,000 threshold, I have to get a corporate resolution. Up to $10,000, I can make the decision, so.
I don't foresee that.
So that's fine. We're fine if you want to move. We would, and drop the agreements, we would be happy to sign them anytime soon for the 50/50 split of that change. None of our neighbors affected by it, just us.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's in the general neighborhood of under $6,000.
Right. So we would be about $3,000.
I wouldn't see that it'd be more than 3, it'd be less, but most likely, yeah.
So you got the top end there anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll bring back and we'll coordinate with you, Father.
Thank you all for coming. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll have the public hearing, the first one then.
Good timing.
Isn't it 6:45?
Yeah, it's good timing.
Perfect timing.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that one?
Sure, Mayor, could you officially open the public hearing?
I did. Didn't you hear it?
Okay, sorry, I didn't. My apologies.
Diane had it.
This is ordinance number 375. Basically, we discovered some lead pipe and some service lines, and so this allows us to work with the homeowners to do that. Shane's going to present this item. Shane?
Yeah, so you have my memo.
Yeah.
We can get you one, yeah.
It's pretty short.
Yeah.
So hopefully everybody read my memo, but what it boils down to, I mean, I can read this all out, but there isn't many lead services left in town. We do discover them from time to time, but we don't have any avenues of requiring anybody to replace these when we do find them. And like I mentioned in my memo, they're a hazard to the department to everyone's health. Department of Health actually, they don't have any requirements to remove them from the system, but they highly encourage them be removed from the system when found. There really isn't any programs unless you have several city blocks. Then they'd have like a 50-50 split on, like a project with the city. There's really no programs out there as far as grants or anything like that other than that. In this case, we've done some pretty old sections of town. We didn't find anything last year with lead in that project. And this year we suspect there's one, because the 2 that we found earlier, they were only lead like in the boulevard, and part of that was replaced anyway. Then from the curb stop in, they found plastic or copper the rest of the way, so that actually got removed as part of the original project, so those were a non-issue. So so by adding this ordinance, it's just what is proposed to read is: if a lead service line is discovered on city's water system, the service line shall be replaced from the water main to the water meter. It shall be the responsibility of the property owner to cover all costs associated with the installation, restorations on the owner's side of the curb stop, which would essentially be from the curb stop to the water meter. And then the city, because of section 6.13 with the maintenance costs of everything from including the curb stop to the main, the city covers that. It's still a requirement of the homeowner if they're building a new dwelling or a new business or whatever to connect to the main originally, but then after the installation, then it becomes the city's as a maintenance from the main through the curb stop, I should say. So the city would cover costs of the installation from the water main saddle to the curb stop, not on the owner's side of the curb stop in the city right of way. So that's pretty simple wording. if you have any questions.
Shane, any guesses how old those lead service lines are?
I would guess early 1900s. Kind of about the era of that, and others that we found kind of fall in that 1908. 1908 main was the last one we've seen one on. Surprisingly, and I don't know if this was replaced at one time, but the 1892 main, I don't know if lead wasn't the thing back then, or if most of them rotted off or whatever, and they end up just replacing them all at some point. But I highly doubt that downtown, because the old wood road was still underneath the pavement, so I don't think they would have put that back.
Is there any help for the homeowner to get from the curb stop to the water meter
No.
that we could provide for them so that they do get that changed? As to say, I don't have the money, I'm not going to do it.
Would they be able to have that put on their assessment?
They could use that as an option to have
Then
a
it could
special
be spread
assessment.
out.
Yeah, at least to be spread out. That's.
Yep.
Okay. I don't know if that's the case in this case, but it could be.
But the only way this is going to be identified is if we're doing a water main project.
Or
And we identify
Yep.
it when when they start doing the digging and everything.
Yep.
And so at that point in time, it's going to be part of a project that it would be able to be assessed.
Yep. And
There's
even
really
if
no
it
way
wasn't,
it would just be on their own unless they were building something new. Well, then they would be replacing it all anyways.
yeah, and even if it wasn't, it still can be assessed, regardless if there's a project or not. But in some cases, we'd be fixing a water main break and we'll run across one. That there's other discoveries, but it's very, very few and far between. I think we found one in the last 6 or 7 years by fixing curb stops that were leaking or broke or whatever. So, and in one case there's like 3 feet of it, and then we found copper and we just cut it out. So it's just it's not real common, but at least this would provide an avenue for us to get them off our system.
You have trouble finding these curb stops? I know a guy on North Center Street that's got gopher holes all over his boulevard. And I don't know if we found the curb stop yet.
We've had driveways over them. We've had them really ripped out. People hit them during snow removal, and this is a piece of pipe. We'll throw it in the dumpster, and then they call and say, "Hey, I got a leak in my basement. It's before my meter, and we can't shut them off because they throw said pipe in the garbage." So, at one point, everybody should have had a curb stop, but in your case, I thought he'd found it.
Well, supposedly there, but they can't figure out how to shut it off. I know they've dug 3 or 4 holes out there.
Okay.
I was just curious because they've had issues with trying to shut ours off.
Yeah, and we found some inside trees. People plant a tree right on top of them. We've had to cut trees down to get at them. These craziest things happen, but come talk to me and we'll figure it out.
We are making progress though, because I couldn't find my curb stop until the last street project by my house, so we'll keep working on it, I guess.
Don't plant a tree over it.
No, I don't. No.
Yeah, it's not advisable to plant a tree on top of a sewer or water service,
That's not the way to market.
Someday.
Do you go by a map, Shane, on the curb stops, or how do you find them, other than the locator?
As-built on new projects will show them, and they have dimensions from a certain landmark, whether it be corner of a house or, and measure over. And we have that, for the winter time. We have a book with each address, but a lot of them, they were never found when they were put in and never written in the book. So then when they become a problem, then we end up go searching for them. But and then you get a project that comes through and then they're moved from the actual what the book says. So, and then that's where the as-builts come into play. But they didn't have those on all the older projects, so at least they didn't file them anywhere where anyone can find them. Any other questions on the ordinance proposal?
I make a motion that we accept ordinance number 375.
Seconded.
Did you close the public meeting yet?
Did you do
Need a
that
motion to
first?
close the public hearing first.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Now,
No, do we have to have roll call?
yeah,
first
you can
for
do
that?
it. You can do an aye vote on that. Voice vote on
Aye,
that.
right? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now, Seth.
So you did what I said.
Yes.
Does he need to repeat his motion, or can he just?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I make a motion to approve ordinance number 375.
Seconded.
First and second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Whitman,
Aye.
Powell,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Teagues,
Aye.
Van Dyke,
Aye.
Schmidt, Mayor Corman.
Aye. Then we have a few minutes. Do we want to try to,
Sure, we can get the consent calendar
Yeah.
done.
I'll make the motion to approve the July 12th minutes, approve municipal accounts payable and payroll without breakthrough beverage, approve the municipal accounts receivable, and approve the Boxcar Days licenses for the on-sale liquor for the beer tent, softball complex, and carnival.
I just have a question. Carnival. What liquor is at the carnival?
They don't sell liquor there, it's a carnival license.
Oh,
Oh, carnival
okay.
license.
I'm just like,
Not liquor license.
what
Carnival
liquor? I thought,
Licenses.
yeah, I missed that part.
Boxcar Days licenses. Yeah.
The way
Okay.
I read that, I would have said the same thing.
He kind of carries that.
would somebody like to second?
I'll second that.
Okay, first and second, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Whitman,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Van Dyke,
Aye.
Powell,
Aye.
Teagues,
Aye.
Mayor Corman.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to approve accounts payable for Breakthrough Beverage.
Second.
First and second, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Whitman,
Aye.
Teagues,
Aye.
Van Dyke.
Oh, I can't.
Oh,
abstain.
you're
Sorry.
right.
I caught that.
I test you every once in a while. Powell,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Mayor Corman.
Aye.
And she forgot me.
I got you.
I didn't say aye.
Oh, George,
Aye.
thank you.
Difficult again.
Well, no, I caught your mistake, but I didn't catch your.
So we have like a minute and a half before our next public hearing. Does anybody have anything for mayor council communication that only takes a minute and a half?
I have one thing. I'd like to thank the Chikuskis and the Nielsen's for their hard work at our park there on Center. I don't know what we call that park. It's the one with the gazebo.
Oh, yeah.
Delta.
Delta Park, yeah.
What's it called?
Delta.
Delta.
Delta Park. They do a great job. So, hats off.
Yeah, thank you to them.
I agree.
Anybody else have anything? Okay, are we good enough to go with this next
I
one?
think so. We're good enough.
So, we would like to open up the public hearing for ordinance amendment to 372, amending ordinance number 28 regarding alcohol consumption on public property. Anybody here in the audience would like to talk about that? Seeing none,
Would you like me to make a quick presentation as to what this is?
well, are you in the audience?
Yes, so.
I'm just kidding.
I guess so. You guys can go straight to vote. I don't. It's up to you.
You go ahead.
It'll be quicker if I don't talk.
Okay, then you got like half a minute.
I set myself up for that
I
one.
need to give her 1 minute off.
No, you can see the changes that we're making to this ordinance. This part of the code was originally adopted in 1957, and it basically reads as if the city of Tracy is a dry city. It basically says that it's unlawful for a person to consume, mix, or prepare alcohol or consume consumption in any public place or place of business or on a public highway or in an automobile in the city of Tracy. That reads like a complete ban to me. In reality, that's, of course, not what we're doing. Prohibition wasn't that too far in the past in 1957. And so that's not what we're doing today. So the way that we rewrote it is we changed it to places of public accommodation, which is the usual way you describe these things today. And so generally it says that in places of public accommodation, you can't, openly drink alcohol, serve alcohol, unless you've got a permit or license from the city of Tracy. So it's okay to drink at Bonnie and Clyde's, but it wouldn't be okay necessarily unless there's a permit or a license, in another public place to serve people alcohol. The other item that this does update is that the original code did have an exception in there for hotels. So, so basically people can drink in their room if they want to. But we changed that to, places where you rent, essentially. So that would include things like bed and breakfast, the campground, things like that. So that would allow you to basically consume, because you're renting that space as if it were your private home, and allows you to do that without a permit. So it doesn't get, actually, Jason suggested it that way. I mean, we don't want people to, get in trouble or, because, there's no permit to serve alcohol at the campground, for example. And so this essentially modernizes it. It's what we do now. You have complete control over whatever permit and license you issue. And without a license or permit, it wouldn't be legal, and we'll enforce it as such. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Will this change the way the beer tent is, that they have to stay inside? They still have to stay inside.
No, you still, when you get a license like that, whether it be a temporary or permanent one, it's a defined space. Okay. And so you would define the space as the beer tent or whatever it happens to be. So yes, absolutely, wouldn't change that. That would still be required in the permit. License, actually, not the permit.
Could I ask Chief Lickby, what is your opinion about this ordinance change? Is it going to make the job of police easier, or are you supportive of this?
Reading through it, it's pretty comparative to the original ordinance. It just has more updated wording, basically, and gives the city a little more control with permits. So I don't see a big change.
Okay. I did have one citizen call me concerned that this was going to open the door for alcohol consumption in city parks.
Not unless they have a prior permit from the city.
I also had a question about Bonnie and Clyde's and how they have their tables set up on the sidewalk. And this individual is questioning whether there should be some sort of a barrier or fence or something, like you see in some communities, kind of allowing people, public, if they're walking by on the sidewalk, to go by on one side and have kind of a segregated area for the tables at Bonnie and Clyde's. Do you see any advantage to that?
It hasn't been an issue yet that we've seen. So, I've seen communities where they have like fenced-in areas on the back of a bar or restaurant or some type of gates, so that but still it's still a thoroughfare for the city sidewalk too. Mm-hmm. So,
was the barrier, was that a requirement of the permit? I assume that they were granted a permit for the sidewalk.
We I want to say a year ago or so, we granted some permits to people to use the sidewalks, because at one time, you could only have outside eating because of COVID restrictions. And so at that time we did. I'm not sure that would apply in this particular case. That did require some barriers, which is why you saw those out there. That's really, I think, a different situation than this one, however. We do not currently in any of our codes have any requirement for fencing around that. And my belief is that their liquor license would, and we decided this at the time when we allowed them to do the cafe seating when they could only go outside, would extend, to the outside of the building as well. And so we don't have anything in code that would require it.
State law just requires the license and where they're going to be operating it to be compact and contiguous to the establishment that has a license.
Yeah.
So that can extend out to the outdoors so long as it's compact and contiguous. Most bars and liquor stores typically do have some sort of barrier for their own liability purposes, but that's on the owner and operator. It'd probably be best in their practice to do that, but if the code doesn't require it, then we can't require it. So
yeah.
And in their permit or the license application, I'm sure they have to define the area in which they're going to be having outdoor facilities or tables. So there at least be some sort of general outline of where that'll be occurring.
So Matt, I'm not following this. So the beer tent cannot take out beer if they had an area which they said you could use. They could take the beer out then. What makes the beer tent any different than buying?
There's different licenses. Okay. So an on-sale liquor establishment has to be compact and contiguous. The license that the city issues, you define the exact area and set the terms and conditions for that. So similar but different.
I believe there's something about permitted area in there and the wording in that. So like when the beer tent has the street dance, that permitted area opens up to Morgan Street where the band's at and that area also. Does that make sense?
In other words, during the dance they have beer out?
Right up to the front door of the pavilion, yeah.
Need to go sometime around. My question is, so if we was lucky enough to get a sand volleyball league going in town with the younger kids, could they apply for the summertime permit so that if the teams come, they could bring a little cooler of beer?
Yes, they could apply. You would have to approve that though. But
Yeah,
yes,
but
they
it could run the whole sand volleyball season then, so to speak?
Sure.
Is that what they do at the caboose now? I see beer being drank.
Mud volleyball.
It'd be
Compact and contiguous.
it'd be part of their license, yeah. Yeah, but if somebody wanted to, use our sand volleyball courts or use the softball fields, for example, or whatever, they could with the permit. So you would have to approve that.
Okay. So to George's point, right now, if someone, and it has happened in the past, someone has applied to play a sand volleyball tournament. Because it's prohibited, we just had to say no.
That's correct.
And right with the change, it would be our discretion whether we could say yes.
That's correct.
And so just thinking of Central Park, essentially alcohol consumption is prohibited in Central Park, and it would continue to be prohibited with this change unless someone made a specific application to do it. Let's say an expo had a wine tasting booth or something like that.
Yes.
Correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And is it also correct that in years past, if we had the expo or there was a wine tasting event up in the second floor of the, I was going to say Prairie Pavilion, but VMC, that would have technically been not possible.
No, they could have, well, back when we owned the on sale and we owned this, then they could. But being we don't own that anymore as an on sale.
Okay, good point.
Alrighty.
This essentially gives you more flexibility to decide when you want to allow it and when you don't. That's what it amounts to.
So I mentioned last time about signs like in the park, about alcohol beverages on in the particular park area. What's your thought on that?
Just having a sign that says no alcohol consumption allowed?
Yes,
Well,
especially Central Park.
Is there a problem with that?
Here's my
I
suggestion.
don't know. I don't know if they're drinking in Central Park.
Here's my suggestion on this, is that, one of the things that we don't have in the code is we don't have, a park use policy, and that could be lots of different things associated with it. It could be hours of parks. It could be what kinds of activities allowed or not allowed in a park, and that might be alcohol consumption. Maybe you want to, keep certain things out of the park, or control or manage certain kinds of behaviors of people in the park. And so my suggestion is that I see that as a broader issue, and if you're interested in doing that, my suggestion is that I take that to kind of the park committee that we're forming and have them talk about what that might do. And then at some point we can bring back that discussion to you. Because I think it's a more global issue than just alcohol.
I agree with that. That's a good suggestion.
That's all the presentation we have, Mayor, and I don't know that we have anybody here that would like to talk about
Jason, do they have anybody drink? Do you have problems with people drinking in the park?
Have we over the years? Not very often. One individual that was dealt with. It's very rare.
Okay. Since nobody's here to talk about that from the public, can we go ahead and
Close.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Do we need to do anything about that ordinance?
Yeah, well, you need to adopt it.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 373, amending ordinance 28.
Second.
First and second, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Oh,
Aye.
Landay,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Teagues,
Aye.
Whitman,
No.
Mayor Plummer.
Aye.
You did it again. You got a minute and a half again.
I know, so.
We're probably close enough, I think. There's nobody here anyway.
So, really just going back to this becomes actually effective then after publication.
It's 30 days. It's 30 days after publication, and I do want to point this out because, we already gave a permit for the Aloha Night, and technically, it would potentially violate the ordinance as it previously was written. It would not violate the new version of the ordinance, and so although it's a technicality, we won't enforce it. We won't enforce the old ordinance on ourselves, if that makes sense, in this context. So I think we're fine. Thank you for
What do you think?
clarifying that.
The city has discretion. For instance, chief has discretion whether he wants to enforce it or not.
Yeah.
So, knowing that you have just passed an ordinance to basically change that, you guys will be fine.
Hey, even the
Now
lawyer
let
said
Chief
it.
know that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I had planned on going Friday night, and I don't want
That's
to end
good.
up in jail.
We'll have a Pepsi just for you there. Okay, I would like to open up the public hearing for the ordinance amendment of 374, repealing ordinance 197 regarding the removal of the cable commission.
Thank you, Mayor. This is relatively straightforward. This is basically just a striking of the entire ordinance. We used to have we still technically do, but we haven't put anybody on a cable commission, and we don't know how long. The cable commission used to basically from what we can tell, meet and make sure that people's cable had good reception and was empowered to go to people's homes and check the reception. And I think that was a time when this was important to the city council back in the 80s. We don't really do this anymore, and so we're just cleaning this up by getting rid of it. So you're not obligated to appoint a cable commission any longer. And that's pretty much it.
It's a good idea. You're Eric's right, this was once a very important commission, but technology and the fact that local ownership is far, far removed from our cable services, it's pointless to have this.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you, David.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Then I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 374, repealing ordinance 197.
First and second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Rutland.
Aye.
Snow.
Aye.
Van Dyke.
Aye.
Teigs.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Mayor Cormier.
Aye. Cameron, do you want to do your...
You always let her do it.
I was going to let Jason, but he ran out the door.
I think Jason did that just to get out of doing this.
How come you didn't have to?
I should, but
You want to do yours first and go?
I have to cover a few things, so,
You want to do yours first and go?
no, it's fine.
You okay?
Do you want to go, Shane?
Go.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
You're gonna be late.
I'm not sure what the call is, but
Something that somebody had to.
I'll give this back to you before I carry it off. I do have a few updates here I'd like to share, and I've also been, we've received a notice from the Department of Natural Resources too that we're in a drought warning phase now, and we have to implement our water supply demand reduction measures in Plan Part 2 of the Water Supply Plan, which was adopted in 2018. It's usually good for 10 years. And that points to the ordinance that reads, in case of emergency or water shortage, the mayor may, by proclamation, require limited use of water, and the consumer shall use water in such quantities that are necessary for his immediate use, and may be required in such cases to wholly refrain from the use of water, and shall at no time commit any unreasonable waste of water, any violation of the subdivision or the mayor's proclamation shall subject the offender to such penalties as are hereinafter prescribed. So that's not saying a whole lot. I've kind of, okay, that cup has to go. In other cities, they've been implementing like odd even watering. I know the city marshal's doing that. I guess it's kind of up to the mayor what she wants to do according to this, but
No more showers for anybody.
depending on, the DNR is who permits our pumpage from our wells. So we kind of, we have to follow any of their advice on, what happens, during this drought warnings. Right now, 50% of Minnesota is experiencing severe drought. Some are extreme. They just kind of want to get all these communities to cut down on water use. They'd like to be above 50% above January levels. Usually that's about 250,000 per day. Right now in summertime, we're looking at 400,000 a day that we pump out of the water plant. It's not a whole lot, but it's going to take everyone's cooperation to hit that mark. So odd even watering or they can help it, no watering at all, that might be something. If we hit extreme drought, that might be something we have to implement too. But I don't know if you guys have any input on how you want to deal with that. I mean, it's up to the mayor,
So
according to this. But
if we do odd, even, is that going to help enough, or do we have to do more?
it would help. You wouldn't have the peak demand. It should cut it in half if if everybody waters every day. I'm not seeing a lot of watering going on right now. Their other recommendation is refrain from car washing, swimming pool filling, power washing of buildings. I don't see a lot of that going on in town right now. If you guys are going to paint your house, you're looking at 50, 60 gallons probably to blast off a good part of a average house. So I think lawn irrigation is the biggest one right now that I see as far as using around town. So that would probably be my recommendation, is go odd even.
Do we need to do anything with the hours? Or that won't really matter?
I don't think it really matters. And some people set their sprinkler systems to water at night, but some people say that's bad. So they can get fungus growing. So they water at night, but I mean, it's all a matter of people's preference. And I suppose when some people work at night and some people work during the day. So
So if we just do like odd even to start with and go, and then you figure out if that's okay, and if not, we'll just have to.
And it wouldn't have to be a council decision to change it. It's just mayor proclamation. So if it does get worse, we can act immediately based on the DNR's recommendations on that. But as of right now, I would go with odd evens. Seems to be what I've heard most on the radio advertised for. And for those of you that don't quite understand odd even, it's just if you have an odd address, you water on the odd days of the month, and then even addresses can water on the even. So,
Shane,
pretty
what's
simple.
happening with our water levels in the wells?
We don't monitor those. We don't have the equipment to monitor those. We actually have an inspection coming up in a couple weeks that will give us our static water levels, so we'll know a little more then, and we can compare it to last year. But we don't have any pumping problems or anything like that right now. If we do, then we have to immediately notify DNR on that. So.
That's good.
So Mayor, we can prepare a proclamation for you, with odd even watering requirements. It's at your discretion, as Shane said. And so, this is something we're required to do in our water supply plan through, DNR regulations. And so we're kind of, we have to do something at this point. As people know, it's pretty dry right now. And so that's what we're trying to do, is preserve water. We want to make sure we preserve water for people to drink. Obviously, that's the most important thing. That goes way before lawns.
So can we tell the public we start that immediately, or?
Well, we can have you sign the proclamation tomorrow. We could start it tomorrow. We could start it on August 1st, which is just, a little bit later in the week. That's kind of what we were thinking,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Start August 1st.
Okay. Well, we'll prepare that for your signature along with the other things you have to sign after tonight.
Okay.
A few other things.
Nice to get a hold of Pear since he had to leave.
He's got his recorder over
Mike's
there.
on.
We'll make sure that we communicate with Pear, though.
He
I'll
could
read.
get that in the paper, this week. Make sure you say that loud, Ron, so Pear gets that in.
Okay, Bear.
Well, and have him put it in too, like if you do have an at-home pool, try not to fill it a lot. And
Yeah.
all the little things. Shones, no more washing your car in the driveway.
Can't get to my driveway.
I know that feeling.
Shane, this is off that subject, I don't even know what street it is when you take past the old liquor store and head towards the grocery store.
South Street?
There's a wellhead there. Whose is that?
Cities.
Is it capped?
Yes.
And the top ain't been cut off then. I go by and there's a little board on top with a few rocks sitting on that board. and-
It's been filled with bentonite, so
Okay.
it's full, but actually I've been getting some quotes on removing that and what's left of the water tower. We cut all those trees out around the water tower and
Okay.
but it's gonna need like a skid loader jackhammer
Yeah,
to
but
get
at
it
least
out.
it's capped.
Yep, it's all capped,
That's
so,
worried me a little bit.
no, we're good there, so. Everything is capped in our wells, our old wells, except obviously the two that we're using now, so. Cover the water shortage, potholes, did some, we're gonna do a couple blocks of mill and overlay on Sunrise Drive to get the road to drain, so that road don't get any worse. We've done 32 tons of potholes mix with the public works crew. Could have got a little further if our truck didn't catch fire last week, but we are working on getting that repaired. Fuller Paving will be in town tomorrow. They're going to start doing some of these other potholes around town and getting some stuff milled out. Right now, so for crack sealing, I talked to both contractors. They're looking at the 5th of August for crack sealing, and seal coating they're starting on the 11th of August. And based on my conversation with them, they would have the whole town done by the 12th. Obviously the weather is a factor, but it doesn't look like it's going to rain anytime soon. Northwest Asphalt is the crack sealing contractor, and they're a subcontractor of Pearson Brothers, who got the bid for that project. And that should update everybody. I did put a post on Facebook a little bit ago about parking. Everybody can keep their vehicles off the road during the daytime from now until the 15th of August. We can get the roads swept. We got some weeds to kill in some areas, and for pothole patching, and we're working around a lot of cars, so if we can keep them off until they're all done. Otherwise, some people park on them and they leave for the day. If we can't get a hold of them, it's going to hinder progress on that. So between us and the other 3 contractors running around, it's going to be pretty busy here in the next couple weeks. So
will people know if their street, was there a map? I haven't seen the post yet. Is there a map that tells them if their street is one that's going to get the seal coating? And
yeah, I'm going to have Kyle redo that map after because we don't have the updates, because we expanded that project because of the pricing. We're just making sure we can get everything filled and everything fits in the budget before we put the final map out. But I think Kyle said we just got to update the information on the spreadsheet. He could generate a new map for us. But right now I'm kind of making individual maps for each contractor on where they need to go, because they're all a little bit different, and it's easier if there isn't, because there's 5 different colors, 6 different colors on the map ISG provided. Some are getting crack sealed, some are getting crack sealed in FA2, which is a smaller rock. Some are getting crack sealed with FA3, which is a bigger rock. Some are just getting FA3, some are just getting FA2, and some of our prior street projects, and we're not doing anything, or they're too far gone to do anything with. So we can we'll have them update that map. I don't think it's a huge deal for you. Yeah. So,
Is it fair to say, Shane, that except for the brand new streets that we're putting in, or were just put in, that pretty much every street in town is going to be touched by this one way or another?
Yep, either crack sealing, seal coating. Say if it isn't, even phase 1 that was done in 2017 had some cracks that have developed, so we're getting those sealed up. They won't be seal coated, but they'll be crack sealed. And then everything else short of maybe 5 or 6 blocks is getting done.
Don't park on the street from
So it's easier just to say don't park on the street.
now until like the 13th of August?
13th or 15th, I think I put in there, but
Okay.
For the folks that are watching this on TV or have Facebook, how are we going to reach out to them?
well, Diane, you can post it on the
We
TV.
posted something on Facebook today.
Yeah.
I can
but
tell you that.
I'm just, the folks that don't have Facebook or watch the console, I guess.
Hopefully maybe
Do we have some flyers that the police, as they're driving around, can stuff under their windshield or something? I don't know, I'm just asking.
If they don't comply when they get closer to the time where that street's gonna be affected, then, yeah, they'll have to notify them, but,
Especially if they work nights or go on during the day,
yep,
they're gonna have to have some way to be notified, I guess.
yep.
Shane, I don't know if you talked with Pearson Brothers, but typically for the seal coating and crack filling, that crew that comes through and over that 1 or 2 days, they'll put signs out the day or two before saying no parking on this block during this time. We're going to be seal coating the road.
Yep.
So
That'd be good.
they have to do that to keep people from parking in front of them. So that, at least that particular work. Maybe not the same for the pothole filling and that, but.
No, on the crack sealing, they came and sprayed some of the crack sealing areas last week.
Okay.
So like they were coming this week, now they pushed it off because they had another area that had to get done prior to this. They just have to be done before the 11th when they seal coat. So, so they just moved it back a week before the seal coating. So, which is fine. It gives us more time to find any other areas that may need it. There's some areas on the bike path I'm going to have them work on too. So I've gotten a lot of complaints on that lately. So, but do as much as we can to make it better. But say it's still not going to get $41,000 worth done, but we have a little bit in the parks that we could push off to a little bit of bike trail work, at least getting it crack sealed. And
Shane, and when the work is done on the street, ideally, how much time do you want people to wait until they drive on it?
they can drive on it immediately after it's seal coated. I wouldn't recommend parking on it right away, but 24 hours they'll be pulling the rock back off, so it's pretty much they can come right behind and drive on it. So
And the same thing with the crack filling.
yeah, they put toilet paper over it, so if it looks like someone TP'd the road, and that'll just end up decaying, but that's normally how they do that. That way you drive over them, it doesn't stick to the tires. So.
And they didn't do that during COVID.
You will be out taking the toilet paper out of the road.
Only you there.
That's the only other thing I have is another question I actually had a citizen ask me this morning is striping on South Street. The county does plan on doing that this year. We've asked them twice and they both told us. I think you asked them and I asked them. And
Yeah.
it's going to happen this year.
Good, Shane,
But
good, Eric.
And if it doesn't, then
my project.
it's because they dropped the ball. Yeah.
Then you're going out with yellow can and
No.
paintbrush?
Right there.
Okay.
Four-wheeler and a yellow paintbrush.
Who'd you point to, Diane? Oh,
I think Aaron gave us his card. We can make some copies. But that's all I have. I don't know if you have any questions. I mean, there's a lot going on right now.
Wasn't Fuller gonna fix something or something when they came back this time on Morgan Street?
They can try to grind some of the edges off of their page. I think their patches are up a little bit. There's a chance it could settle a little bit yet, but a lot of times a patch will settle to some degree over a winter, but I think it's a little rough yet. The road's better as far as the waves, but they said they would be able to fix some of those areas too.
will that degrade what they did then? It won't hurt any.
No, that'd be probably some grinding marks, but then they're going to seal coat it anyway, so it'll all get new oil over it, and it's never going to be perfect unless you completely grind the road out and re-overlay it. But now we're talking probably $100,000 for that stretch. So. Anything else?
Thank you.
There is a fire. It's
Depends on if it's like the one yesterday at the elevator in Clinton.
Still going?
Anything else?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else on the agenda for me later?
No, you're good.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
voucher here.
You adding up your sales there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I like put it on my phone instead of printed it off today. See, I'm saving paper for you.
Thank you.
So when Eric said when we did the goals, and my July goal was 79,000, I thought Eric was crazy. I thought with COVID, and nobody in the industry ever compares any numbers to 2020 because of the whole COVID thing, how well it was. But in 2020, we did, well anyway, so the goal was 79,100. And we actually beat that goal. We did 80,000 in June, which was awesome because that's $17,626 higher than 2019 that we should have been comparing figures to. We had a small profit this year, or this month, like 3,900, sorry. And a smaller cash flow, like about 19,000 for the month, 1,900 for the month. But a lot of times it has to do with, like you can tell in our months, depending on how things are bought and like when the different buys are and when the beer companies come in, so it's always going to fluctuate a little bit. We had a fantastic 4th of July though, so that started the month out really well. Right now we're gearing up for Aloha at the pool on Friday, hoping that all of you guys are joining us. $20 if you buy your ticket ahead. Gets you food, games, music, fun, a drink ticket, extra adult beverages, and sodas and that kind of thing are available. Or got a Pepsi. I'll have a Pepsi there for you. Are available otherwise too, and it should be a great night. The weather should be really good. It's supposed to be hot, so we're looking forward to the first annual. Hoping we can continue it. And let's see, anything else?
Do you have very many people sign up for that?
You know what? I was going to call the bank today, and I didn't get a chance to do that. But so we probably have 15, 20 maybe total so far.
Something like that right now. Yeah.
And we're hoping for at least 75 people. We'd love to have more than that, but so it should be a good night.
I think what we want to add about that too is that this is really a fundraiser for the Tracy Area Education Foundation. So if you care about helping the school district, if you care about helping to provide those extras that maybe you can't get out of the budget, this is a way for you to kind of show your support. And so we think that's kind of a really important partnership, a really important community partnership. So it's not just a fun time and something for the liquor store. It's really also for the community as a whole. And so we would encourage people to come out and do that. It's only a $20 ticket per person. You get a meal, you get a drink. We're going to have hula hoop contests, which I know all of you are going to participate in.
You're doing the demonstration.
I'll do I will tell you this, council member. If you come and do the hula hoop, I will do the demonstration. Absolutely. If you enter, I will be there. I will be there, and I will do it.
That's not where I was going.
Yeah. See, it's a challenge. I can send that challenge right back at you.
There you go.
Right back at you.
Do you need a motion on that?
That's worth the ticket right there.
See, that's only $20. How often you get to see the city administrator using a hula hoop? Just not often. So that's at least worth.
Against the
I can think of a few seniors who might pay $50 for that.
I was thinking more of a dunking tank.
I've been in a dunking tank before. I have been dunked.
Not here.
Yeah, but not here. No, it will be a lot of fun because we'll have contests. We have a limbo contest. We're going to have Jenga games and beanbag cornhole games. You can buy extra drinks if you want, if one's not enough for you. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And you can get in the pool. We'll have light up beach balls.
You can get in the pool too. Now you can't slide, but you can get in the pool. And we'll have lifeguard present too, so.
No sliding.
Just in case. Can't,
sliding.
no, they won't allow us to use the slide. For the pool operator's license won't allow us to do that for this
Get
event.
really brave, you can sing.
The diving
After a
board
couple of
can't
drinks, you never know.
Can we use the diving board?
Can't use the diving
Well, there's
board.
no sense in going.
And Diane,
Jump in.
Diane, you cannot be on the limbo. Cannot be in the
I can't be in the limbo?
No, you'd walk underneath the pole.
I have the advantage, is that what you're saying?
That's true.
It's true. It's true. Has this helps the school? Has the poster been taken out to the school?
Oh yeah, definitely. And you know, and I want
Are they
to
promoting it?
add on to, they've put it on, as far as I know, they've put it on, there, you can buy tickets out there with them too. Did you send me your flyer?
I did. Thank you. I was threatening him.
So the school, for as far as I know, they have put it on their Facebook, their Twitter, sent it out to all of the teachers and all that kind of thing. So, and I want to piggyback off of what Eric said, because that's like one of the goals about the liquor store is like, obviously the more we make, the more we get to dump into the fund to support the town. You know, she shares everything, whether it's a fly or being sick, I tell you. So it's awesome to be able to be, yeah, we're the liquor store, but yet we're part of the community, like just like hand sanitizer, giving it to all the, you know, that kind of thing. So it's like we want it, the liquor store, which helps the city, but yet we want to be part of the community, to get together with the community too. And we're hoping that this can extend for years, and then we can donate it to different organizations and that kind of thing. So we're hoping it's a good turnout. Anybody else have any other? I'm sorry.
Could you give us a little update on the sign?
Oh,
You're working
I'm glad you said that, because right before I got here, which made me late, I was talking with a gentleman about creating our sign. So giving him the measurements and giving him our ideas and getting his ideas, and so yes, we're in the works with that.
Can we see that design before it's actually built?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I would.
So what our intentions are, or should I spoil it and tell them?
Go ahead.
So what our intentions are is we're going to have D. Schmidt hopefully we've talked to them about doing the letters, the metal letters to coordinate with the train. It'll say boxcar and then liquors. I'm hoping we have enough money in the budget to put a train in the middle of the two, just in the middle of the sign. And then we are going to use the barn wood that we saved from Central Hog. What's the name of that Central Hog thing down there? We're hoping that we can use that for the background to tie in with the inside.
And you propose to have that on the roof?
On the top part, like the three, I think it's like 4 or 5, 6 feet. The taller, the metal part that's coming down is where it's gonna. And the letters alone are about 20 feet, 30 feet, something like that. So the sign will be, what?
Oh, feet that way?
Yeah. So the sign will be quite big.
Up and down.
I thought she was losing it.
And for it to be lit up.
So, and then we talked with GNR about putting some spotlights on it, so that it can be backlit.
Yeah, that sounds good, because I really think you can benefit from better signage. So
Definitely. You know, it's kind of cool is we had somebody drive by the other day and stop in because they said it looked neat and new and it looked inviting, so that's why they came in when they were driving down the road. So that was cool. But yeah, if we definitely we're definitely wanting our sign out there. For sure. So I'm glad you said that, because that's where I was earlier. We're hoping that comes along.
Okay.
Any other questions? We're good? Thanks, you
But
guys.
before you go, we need to put a plug out to you and the city employees for doing such good work, and the city of Tracy for shopping at our local liquor store.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
thank
without
you,
the
city
customers, we definitely couldn't be where we're at, so, yes, and the employees. Thank you.
Mr. Jessica, what would you like to do?
I did do my quarterly updates from last.
She's going to go longer than I am anyway.
Give you a quick update on the pre-applications for the potential new small cities grant. We had handed out 600 of those letters and applications here in the city of Tracy with the help of a few of you and a couple of the Lions. And like normal here in Tracy, we actually did very well with it. There's already 125 of them back with more coming in. So it was a huge success to get that kind of percentage of people that actually sent them back in, whether they were interested or not. Or they were interested. We did get 125 of those back. And again, I brought a couple of them over there today, and I've still got a couple of people talking about that. I've delivered a few of them, so they're going to be handing them in. So that is good news. Give you a little bit of a swimming pool update from Shannon. Shannon does a fantastic job out there at the pool. I've been out there. I go out there every week, once, twice. She's always there. She's always got everything so organized. And the reason that we're doing well out there right now is because of Shannon. We had, with the last session starting for swimming lessons, we have, for the year, we're going to be probably plus 25%, 50 extra students, swimmers this year compared to previous years, which is very good. It helps with the bottom line a little bit anyway. The morning swim, which used to be 10 to 15, now is 15 to 20. And there's going to be by the end of the summer, which is just a few weeks away, there's a possibility of they're scheduling 5 extra pool parties that people are coming from Marshall and from Walnut Grove and from other places. So we've promoted that real well, or Shannon has, and so it's done very well this summer. It's been very well received. Give you a quick update on the multi-purpose center, the senior center. Same thing as before. Most days, 8 to 12 card players with a couple of coffee drinkers in there. So we've had as many as 14 people there in a day, but usually it's right around that 8 to 12 people. Just to extend that a little bit, I got a hold of Lutheran Social Services today. They are nowhere in the near future will they be doing any what I would call congregate or any kind of bulk food that they're going to be serving at one place. And she says she does not see it in the near future. So we've served no LSS meals at the Eagles for now. It's going on. August will be the 3rd month. So my recommendation there would be to, over the next couple of weeks, give it 2 more weeks. But then we have somebody coming in at 11:30 every day, so they're sitting there for an hour, and they're not doing anything. So we have our summer help that is going to be leaving on come the 21st, and my suggestion to Eric's going to be that we don't have anybody come in there from 11:30 to 12:30. So, or they can come in at 12:15 just to get ready for the card players and get ready for everybody else. But right now, it's a waste of time. And if LSS would have given me different news, we would have helped them promote a little bit more. But LSS said there's nothing like that in the foreseeable future from LSS anywhere. So, anybody got any questions on those few things?
Is that what LSS said for the area programs, or is that true of their program elsewhere?
Well, I don't know where they're at right now. Honestly, Seth, I didn't get into that with her. I didn't want to get into that with her. I just said, is there any chance that I can promote this a little bit better so we can start having some meals right there and have it dished up so it's warm and everything? And she goes, no, absolutely not for the foreseeable future. And it was a polite conversation between her and I.
Oh, it's good to know that.
Yeah, it's at least that this is the first time we've had any communication with them. Eric didn't even know that. It was just this afternoon I got a hold of her.
It's good that we talked to them.
Yep. So there's a line of communication anyway now.
Would it make sense to try to reach out to Sanford and O'Brien Court to see if they couldn't utilize their dining space a little more?
It actually, there is the potential at O'Brien Court. There is. I mean, right now they have a meal there during the afternoon. The afternoon meal, I believe, is $7.50, and then the night meal, I think, is $4 because it's like a soup and a half a sandwich type of thing. So there's an opportunity there. You know, there's also that O'Brien Court, which is owned by the EDA, is very underutilized during the day out there.
Meal wise.
Yeah, meal wise, and even there's probably room for 50 to 75 people in that downstairs with the number of tables and the couches and the nicer chairs and the other tables for arts and crafts. You know, there's a lot of room that not just the 25 people that live there don't utilize it enough.
Yeah, they just.
Yep.
And you don't have to live there to have a meal there.
You do not. No. You have to sign up. So it's an opportunity, George. Yes, it is an opportunity that we can look into.
Okay, I was going to say, I don't know how we'd promote that, but you have to find the specifics first.
Yep.
I suppose.
Yep. We'd have to for certain people that the cost would be a little bit of a hindrance during the noon hour for sure, compared to an LSS type of thing. Would they let an LSS bring the food in there? I seriously doubt that would happen. Yeah.
But that's a hot meal there. They bring it over in bulk and put it in a steamer.
Heat it up, and
it's a hot meal. I guess I've not ate there, but I've been through there enough.
I understand it's very good though.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've heard the same thing from O'Brien Court residents.
Right.
They really like the meal.
But you look at the underutilized room down there. If you haven't ever been into the bottom floor of that, or where they, just some of the people will get together to have crafts and some meals and think, oh, what a wonderful facility.
Underutilized. Although
Yes.
the place, I think, is almost full. Within 3 apartments from full.
Yeah.
I don't know how many there is total, but.
Well, but there's 3 of the apartments out there are for the locums that come in for the doctors, and then there's home health care that's in one of them.
I wasn't counting those. I was counting the ones that resident.
So yeah, then it comes out to about 24 or 25. Yeah, and there's, I believe right now there's a little bit of a waiting list. That'd be a good way of promoting that, because it's always gotten a bad reputation as far as I'm concerned about being, because it's hooked to the hospital, about being in a nursing home. It's not.
No, it's not.
At all.
It's a nice facility.
It's a very nice facility.
It is a very nice
Glad to
facility.
see it being used now compared to 8 years ago.
I'd like to see it used even more.
And good people working there.
Yes.
Meals on Wheels, that's going to be coming out of Slayton now.
Is it? Okay, thank you. I didn't ask her today. I didn't think it was my place to ask her where it was going to be coming from, so.
Which might as well be coming out of Texas.
Yeah.
It keeps getting further away.
So I'll keep an eye on that with LSS, since that line of communication is open a little bit. Anybody got any questions on the MCP, the number of people that are playing cards or anything?
No, but I have a question about the pool.
Go ahead.
So are
I chased the fly right back to you.
I'll tell you what.
Are they going to be able to keep it open like through Labor Day? Or?
No. It will be closing on Sunday the 22nd will be the last day. And that's when, and the reason for that is all the college students are already in college, and all the high school students all have their activities start. So we got them to keep it open to that Sunday, but it wouldn't be worth it for us to close or open it up on that Monday and Tuesday.
So there's not enough staff even for a limited operation of those slides, just
No.
a lifeguard or 2.
No. You got to have a certain amount of lifeguards out there in the first place, no matter if there's 2 people there, 3 people there, slides, baby pool, anything. So just wouldn't be, we wouldn't be able to do it.
Otherwise, I've heard a lot, like you said, I've heard a lot of good comments about the pool and the aquatics.
Shannon does a fantastic job with that out there.
If I could get one question back on multi-purpose center at the Eagles. We'd budgeted for 3 Saturdays, I believe. And is that about the right number? Are 3 Saturdays being used?
Yep. Actually, I touch base with Shirley Anderson every month, and she didn't answer today. I left a message for her to call so I can get it down on which. So I have to put the schedule together for the 4 employees and then what Saturdays it is. So I just ask her once a month to give me those dates, and then I put the schedule together for everybody.
Okay, so
But it's usually 3. Yes, it's usually one of them is the potluck, and the other 2 are Golden Age. Yes, I'm sorry. So like now, there's 4 Saturdays 4 Saturdays this month, coming month, and then there will be it'll be the first 3 Saturdays was what I think it's going to be. And I guess I should find out for the next time what is the number of people coming to those. Right now I couldn't tell you that.
Last potluck was 28.
28. Okay, thank you.
Close to 30.
Yeah.
They had a good turnout for that.
Yeah. It's always interesting eating.
That's my kind of eating.
I guess that's a good way to put it, maybe. It's good, but it's always something different.
Yep.
The
So-
hamburgers were good. I think they come from Holsteins, didn't they?
No.
All right, and again, since I'm up here, I'll promote the Aloha Night also for Friday night. Anybody that would like to go, call me for tickets. I'll get you some tickets. It's another community event that I think that will be great next year, the year after that, and for every year after that. Just another event, just like the movies in the park, to get people out there. The movies in the park, I guess I didn't even put that on my list. We had 125 people there in movies in the park. It was awesome. Very, very well received.
And one more movie coming up in August, right?
Not planned, no.
Why not there were 3?
No, just the 2. We were gonna, next year we will do one in June, one in July, and then we're gonna try one on possibly the National Night Out on a Tuesday night. Getting a couple bites on some corporate sponsors after this last one was sponsored by Premium Plant Services. And now we got a couple more phone calls of people going, we wouldn't mind doing something like that.
Call the head office of Breakthrough Beverage.
Breakthrough Beverage?
Fair amount of business.
Well, it's actually we publicize it very well for them, and they get Premium Plant Services got I think a nice community jolt just from the many times as we mentioned their name that night.
So do you know what
We can serve cocktails at
what does it cost
Central
for
Park.
like a corporate to sponsor for?
Well, the last one, I can tell you that Premium Plant Services paid $500. They gave us a $500 check. The total bill was $972. So we just have a smaller sponsor do the popcorn. It's because Sandy and I have a popcorn machine.
So then they didn't act. So then they only did like half of it.
Nope, they did. We didn't really put a price on that. You know, for this first year for sure. I mean, if it was a full sponsor, it would be right around that. Pretty close to $1,000 is what it costs.
But if somebody wants to sponsor part of it, they can do that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And to see the number of kids running around the park starting at 7:30 already it was crazy. Some lady was handing out wax paper to go to that old slide up there, that old steel slide that's been there for freaking 40 years. She was handing out, she goes, I took wax paper down this slide, so she was handing out wax paper to the kids so they could go down the slide faster. There was a lot of sore tailbones the next day. If I had done it, I'd have been still laying out there.
I just think that's a great idea.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Last but not least.
I do want to tell you, Mayor, that Val is not here tonight because she's on vacation. So, but you have her report in the packet. You want to plug this in here too and do your whole thing?
Yeah, I might as well just do the whole thing if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
I'm gonna make it. There's some extra in there. Jeez.
Is that cup again?
No.
That's something else. Oh, that's Diane's bowls.
People are telling me.
Well, that starts up.
What's going on? It worked earlier
I was plugged
today.
into it today.
What's the problem?
Did it unplug
Maybe I
there?
That was coming from over this way.
Yep, I think I pulled it out. There we
it
go.
is. Well, before we get into my quarterly financial update, just a few highlights from the monthly financial overview. Just a reminder, we will begin shutoffs on August 5th. any utility bills that are 2 months past due, so the bill that would have been due June 30th and the bill that's due July 31st. If those two are unpaid, they will be shut off June 5th. I believe in the overview, as of the 21st, we had 59 customers that would have been shut off. As of this afternoon, we're down to 40 customers. So we're seeing residents come in and make payments. We do accept payment arrangements, so if a resident needs to come in and make payment arrangements with us, we won't shut you off as long as you have an active payment arrangement and you're meeting that agreement. And then we also offer UCAP as an option. So if you can send us proof that you have a current application with UCAP and you're working with them, we will not shut off as well for that.
When is the shut-off date again?
August 5th.
Okay.
So the most recent bill is due the 31st, and then Crystal will kind of do her analysis, and anybody that hasn't paid the June 30th or the July 31st due dates will be shut off on the 5th. We did send out notices at the beginning of July as well, letting residents know that if they weren't caught up by the end of the month, they would be shut off. So we've been communicating. And obviously have seen people coming in and getting caught up, which is good to see.
Did you send those notices out certified mail or?
No, she did just send them regular mail.
And that's the only notice they're gonna get?
That is the only notice that we have sent.
But you have been calling them people all
Yes.
along?
Yep, Kristen and Sammy monthly call residents, letting them know that their bills are past due, and then offering payment arrangements or UCAP. And I know I've heard Krista on the phone, she's given UCAP's number out to a few residents already, so they're utilizing that as well if they need it.
Glad to hear that.
So before August 5th, those 40 residents would be reached out to by phone also?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I will make a note to make sure that they for sure do that as well. But typically that Crystal reaches out between the end of the month and when she sends out billing, so they'll be notified by then, but I will double check that we do that as well.
Yeah, no one wants to shut off water services, but that is a pretty significant amount in receivables for 60 and 90 days.
Exactly, it is. And that has gone down with those other 19 customers that have come in since last Wednesday. So it's nice to see that coming down. And we really haven't, we've been definitely willing to work with customers and residents if they need to make payment arrangements. We're pretty flexible on what arrangements we make. So, yeah, don't be afraid to come in and talk to us.
Need to speak up just a little bit. I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Okay. Sorry. Couple other things to point out on this. As far as the licensing goes with driver's license and motor vehicle, it has been a little more quiet than it had been at the beginning of the year, customer-wise. We do still have some busy days. We just really see our highest volume in March, so it's not unusual that it's a little bit slower now. Just a quick note, Sammy is our main driver's license motor vehicle person. So we will still see lines to have to wait to be helped. Krista and Peggy, their main focus is on other responsibilities with city business. They will come up and help if the line does start getting really long, but they're not always going to help the next customer waiting in line. We have had a few comments here and there about the line and having to wait. Just want to explain again that Sammy's kind of the main person. There could be a wait as Krista and Peggy have other duties that they need to attend to throughout the day and aren't always available to help.
So if you had a guesstimate, how long do you think a customer's having to wait? Are we talking 10 minutes? Are we talking an hour?
Honestly, it depends on the day. I think on average 10 to 15 minutes. I think, what day was it? Before the 4th of July weekend, we had a line all day. So that wait got to be a little bit longer, 20 minutes, half hour. And part of that was just the transactions we were processing. Some transactions take longer than others, so
you're thinking right now, though, it was probably 20 minutes.
Maybe 20 minutes, yeah.
So we're not talking hours of people waiting.
No, certainly not. Let's see, my other note that was not included in my financial overview, we received the first half of our ARPA funds, so the fiscal recovery funds from the federal government. That came in at about $110,000. So we'll receive another $110,000 next summer. And then we did receive half of our local government aid as well. That was about $480,000. So that other half will come in. $480,000? Yep.
So is that reflected, those two numbers aren't reflected in your 630 general fund balance, is that?
Correct, they are not in there yet. We received those funds in July.
Did you figure out, or do you have any sense of what percentage of property taxes and assessments were actually paid, or what percentage are not paid? Is that a major problem at all for us?
That I don't know the answer to, but I'll look into that one.
You're going to need to ask I asked last year the county auditor that question last year, because we were concerned at that time because of COVID. Oh my gosh, what happens if property tax collections don't come in? And last year, it really didn't impact it all that much. And so, we typically get 96, 98% of everything we're supposed to get. And then we also budget for delinquencies on that. And so we get money that trickles in from people that didn't pay the previous year through the course of the year. But we can get you an exact number, but we hadn't noticed a significant difference between what we expected.
Okay. I was just especially thinking about the assessments for the street project last year. If there are some low value properties where people just maybe aren't going to pay the assessments. So.
I don't know. I don't know the exact number, but we'll get you an exact number.
Okay.
Definitely. Any other questions before I jump into the quarterly financial update? So the layout is similar to the presentation I gave for first quarter. Little less detail here, just kind of going to hit on some high points for the first half of the year. So we did receive our first half tax settlement from Lyon County in June, and so far we are on track for our expenses. We spent about 50% of our budget for 50% of the year, so we appear to be doing really well that way, which is nice to see. In our capital project fund, Dale did purchase $12,000 in turnout gear for the fire department, which was budgeted. And then we received a $5,000 grant to cover a portion of that turnout gear. And then Shane sold some unused equipment and vehicles for about $15,000. So that is included.
What were some of the big items in that $15,000?
I know there were a couple vehicles. That's mostly what it was. So we sold the Impala that had been sitting out here, and then there was an older truck, I believe.
Yeah, there's an older truck. There was I can't remember if we sold. Did we sell the fire truck chassis, or is that happening next? There was like a generator, some other kinds of equipment, and some various miscellaneous items.
I was just curious whether the used car market helped in us being able to sell that police vehicle for more than we sometimes get for those cars?
I don't know the answer to that question. I don't remember what we sold it for.
I don't even think I knew the total, but I didn't have the breakdown. Shane had all of that detail.
So both the equipment sales as well as the grant money that we received, I mean, those are not budgeted revenues. And so that's good, because then that just is going to add to the capital fund, and we can then budget it for future things.
So the Phase 3 street project ineligibles, just a quick rundown of how that fund looks right now. The project's underway, so we haven't seen a whole lot of expenses hitting that, but we will as the summer continues. Our water utility fund, again, same thing, that has some expenses for the Phase 3A2 project. Water sales are slightly ahead of budget so far this year, which is good to see. Sewer utility, one thing to note on there, and this is the same for any of the funds that have the Phase 3 project costs. Services and charges may look like they're over budget. In services and charges, our engineering costs, we did not budget for engineering. It was all wrapped up in project costs, which is running through capital outlay. So if you see a service and charge line item like on here is over budget, it's really due to the engineering costs.
I want to
budget not being in the exact right place.
Clarify that. We did budget for the engineering, but it's actually in the capital line item as opposed to in the services and charges line item. So we did budget for it. It's just in a different place. And so, because and I'll tell you the reason why is because the way that our old accounting system was, we couldn't tell the difference between engineering and capital construction costs, because we didn't segregate it that way, and so we didn't really know what the breakout was. So we budgeted all under capital, but we are tracking it separately under engineering and capital, and at some point we'll come back with a little bit of an amendment to correct where it's supposed to go. And then when we do 2022, we'll have a better idea what it's actually supposed to be during that street project. I didn't want to leave you with the impression that we didn't expense for it. We did. We just expensed for it in a different category.
The solid waste utility is garbage. We have that new contract with Southwest Sanitation that started July 1st, which included a rate decrease for what we pay to Southwest every month. So we'll see that come down a little bit in our services and charges expenditure line item. And then storm sewer, again, just a quick note that includes project costs, which will start trickling in more as the summer and the project continues. The airport fund, the only note I have on this is supplies are over budget at this point. Property taxes were another one of those line items that were in the old system were lumped in with a whole category of things that were kind of hard to pull out. So it wasn't budgeted this year. We do have that noted to budget for 2022.
Is that the same thing? It was budgeted, but just not the correct place? This one we didn't budget.
No, it's not. We flat out didn't budget for property taxes this year. The good news is in reality, if you look at the general fund, which is most of where it is, we're actually below budget in terms of expenditures. So we've got some cost savings in some other places we can absorb that. But that was one we just flat out didn't do. There was a whole category in the previous line items called unallocated, and then there was miscellaneous, and there was a bunch of things that just got kind of thrown into those line items, and we didn't know where they all were and what they all were, and so it was we took our best guess, and we specifically missed that particular item because of that. but it won't affect the overall expenditure money because we're below budget on everything else, so we can absorb it. So that one was my miss. It didn't pull that out of the budget that we had.
And deputy registrar, which is all of the motor vehicle and driver's license business that we do. Right now we are on track to exceed our budget for 2021. And then we have the hospital fund. This is funds that are set aside for Sanford to do improvements at the hospital. We basically request money from our investments to cover those. I haven't done that yet this year, so I will be doing that at our next maturity date, which I think is coming up in August. And then the public housing fund, which is O'Brien Court rent and all of the rent and expenses at Orchard Lane. Pretty much on track to budget there as well.
Did the water main break out there trigger anything?
When you say trigger anything, what do you mean?
Well, we're on track for budget. Do we know what that expense is?
No, I don't think we know what that full expenditure is yet. What is the services and charges is where it would be, and I don't think we've gotten an invoice for it yet. It very well could push us over that number though. We were slated to add $22,000 to the fund balance over there. So ultimately we had a $22,000 revenue essentially in this fund. So we have a little bit of play with that without too much trouble.
So do you know the vendor that I would be getting an invoice from on that?
It would be Dale Johnson Construction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I wasn't aware of that one.
Well, then along with that, there'd be city employee. Does the city employee part get budgeted or get billed to that or not? I guess I don't know. I'm asking.
We're not that fine on this because there was a city employee part of it because we actually did the concrete, so the materials would. But we don't. We do that in some of the funds, but we haven't in this particular fund. It's something we should consider because we do take some money out of this fund to pay for Jeff's salary because of the work that he does on O'Brien Court and Orchard Lane. But one of the changes that we did this year that we probably should consider for next year is including expenses like that. Plus, Lydell is doing a lot of the maintenance now at Orchard Lane as well, and that wasn't necessarily budgeted, so it's not totally clean. But in this particular case, we probably wouldn't. It'd probably just come out of the general fund, and then we would take the materials costs for the concrete out of this fund. I haven't seen it. I don't think we've seen an invoice on that either.
No, I haven't seen anything on that one.
I thought Johnson did the concrete too, I guess. They did the digging, I know.
They did the digging and put it together, but Shane and our guys, we actually did the sidewalk out there.
Okay.
But we haven't done the pavement yet because we were waiting for some of the pavement contractors to be out here so we could add it on top of the work that they were already doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a combination of Dale and us.
The EDA statement, the one thing to note on here that the budget did include $50,000 for the sale of 2 lots at Broad Acres in 2021. At this point, it's likely that will not happen. So we may do a budget adjustment at some point this year to take that revenue out. Then the community development block grant. This fund includes the grants that are administered through UCAP, and then we have $36,000 available in loans through the city as well.
Does that go through EDA or just
these are different funds. The EDA is technically all of the funds you're seeing are part of the city, including the EDA fund. But it is a separate fund. And actually, it's a really good thing to point out. Jeff has a lot of responsibilities, some of it related to housing, some of it related to other community development stuff. He talks to the EDA about the CDBG fund, but in reality, the CDBG and the expenditure of that is your purview. The EDA can't even, technically contract for that stuff. So anything that we get from a CDBG standpoint is really going to be brought to the city council directly. So like the loans that Jeff was talking about, or the program, the small cities grant that Jeff was talking about earlier, if we apply and get that for next year, that'll come back to you at some point in 2022.
So with this 36,000, are there income guidelines in that for people to qualify for these loans through the community?
That would be all
development
through
block
UCAP.
grant?
They would handle all of the loan paperwork, everything else. All we do is pay the contractor. That was the 58,000 that we had guaranteed them when the last small cities grant was given to us. We ponied up $58,000 for the loans part of it. It was just that we put 36,000 this year because we didn't know, there could have been one late last year, and there might be a couple of them that will come late or early in 2022 again.
I put the cemetery fund on here. This really just tracks the sale of plots, mowing and maintenance expenses out at the cemetery. We're ahead on budgeted revenues for this year so far. We've collected about $5,700. Pretty minimal expenses at this point. And then Tam kind of already touched on her liquor store P&L. Net cash flow is on track for the year. Actually a little bit ahead of budget at this point. And sales and expenses continue to track better than budget, so she's doing an awesome job out there.
So that additional loan the city had to make, I think that's how it was, to the liquor store, that's getting paid quarterly, monthly?
That'll be paid back at the end of the year, out of
Once a year payment?
Out of her cash flow. So that's kind of why we are really paying attention to where her cash flow is at, so that we meet that payment at the end of the year. Any other questions for me? That's really all I have for an update right now.
And Krista, how do you feel about the general fund balance then that you're showing on this other sheet?
I think, council member, what you're looking at is the bank balance,
Right.
which is not necessarily the general fund.
Yep.
Okay, there's other things.
Yeah, there's other things that are in there. Yeah.
Yep. That bank balance is the city as a whole. As far as fund balances go, with the new system, I'm still working on converting, after the audit was completed, I'm converting our old numbers into the new numbers so that I can get everything into Cassell correctly and really be comfortable with where the fund balances are at. I'm hoping by the early part of August I will have that done and can include a actual fund balance report in my quarterly report.
I do think, I've looked at this, and one of the things that Krista and I have talked about is how much cash do we actually need in our checking account? I mean, right now we have a considerable amount of cash sitting in our checking account, and in the past, there's been some concern about, we don't know how much money we need to have just in case, we need to have it kind of thing. But I think with our new system and with Krista in place, we probably could invest that money a little better than just the interest rates that you're getting in a checking account. Because right now we've got over $2 million sitting just in our checking account. It's more than we need, to operate on a regular basis. And so what we need to look at, and I think after Krista gets some of these fund balances kind of sorted out, is we need to really look at where we should be investing that cash in a different way to try to figure that out. And it does go up and down, but it is considerably more than it was a year ago, you know, at this time. I mean, we've been managing our numbers and budget a lot tighter. And it's a good thing, but we probably just have too much sitting in our checking account in reality at this point. But it's one thing at a time, you know, that cash management piece is part of what we're looking at, but we'll get there.
I guess one advantage, even in a CD or whatever, you wouldn't be getting that much more.
Not that much
But
more.
it'd be something.
It'd be something. It's a little bit. Yeah. I mean, and we have really limited options for what we can invest things in. You know, the government, basically it's a CD or checking account pretty much. That's what it amounts to. And we do have a bunch of CDs already where we invest, you know, some of the monies that we're using that we bonded for the street project. So there's cash sitting there. Some of our other long-term fund balance cash is sitting in CDs. We probably just need to have a higher balance of CDs as opposed to money in our checking account. That's what it amounts to.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
The only thing I have, Mayor, because you have my report, on my report that I want to add, because I think the department does look pretty thorough and what's going on in the city, is just that we did receive 3 applications for the park committee that we're putting together. And so I think we're going to move forward with those 3 people. We think they're quality people. And, you know, we'll have a couple of tours and some meetings with them, and then bring back to you sometime in the early fall kind of their recommendations and thoughts on what they would like to see in terms of parks.
So who's going to be working with them?
Shane and I will be working with them.
Are you looking for more if, say, 2 more would come up?
Oh yeah, if 2 more people want to do it, we'll take, the more the merrier. We'll take more people.
Okay.
You know, absolutely. At this point, we've got 3, and we just kind of feel like, okay, well, it's probably time to get started. But we will absolutely, if there's anybody else that wants to, you know, give Diane a call or an email and say, I would like to do this, we'll take anybody that would like to help. Absolutely.
Do we want to look at a council representative, or?
If you'd like to do that, if one of you would like to be a part of that, absolutely.
I just know Seth has been pretty.
I would be interested in working.
Well, then we will include you on the group then.
Can you say who the 3 applicants are?
Sure. Rhonda Fredericks, Marianne Ankrum, and Connie Anderson are the 3 right now that have submitted applications.
Good ones.
Yeah, I think it's a good group. I really do.
I just threw a kink in there with Seth, but.
Yeah, that's a danger sign.
Just kidding, Seth. Just.
So that's all I've got. And then the last item then under new business, because we already addressed St. Mary's, is the budget amendment, and that's Krista's as well. And so I'll have her come up and talk about this. You might notice that from a process standpoint, what we're trying to do is bring you back any changes to the budget that we would like you to consider on a quarterly basis. It's just kind of a regular review of everything that's going on. And so Krista will have that information for you.
Yeah, so like Eric said, we just did another review of actuals to budget through June 30th. This quarter, we really only had 2 items for additions to the budget. One being the $5,000 grant for turnout gear that Dale received. And then the other one being a $54,000 for the storm sewer study. We received a grant in 2020, so we already have the revenue on the books for that and the cash available. We just did not have the budget for the expenditure in there. So that's really all we're going to be doing this quarter.
This is the money we received from Lyon County last year for this project. And so we're nearing completion of it ultimately. And so You'll get to see that report soon.
Does the turnout gear, did that allow the purchase of turnout gear for all the fire department members or just some of them?
Dale would know the answer to that. Do you know the answer to that
I
question?
don't believe so. I believe he has it on a rotating schedule.
It is on a rotating schedule. I will tell you that what Dale told me last year during the budget when we were looking at this, that a lot of the turnout gear was already expired. And so we're kind of catching up because they expire after a period of time, then you have to rotate through new ones. And so we're replacing expired turnout gear. You're going to see there's a budget request for more turnout gear. You'll probably see it again, for this year's budget, next year's budget.
So you just need to need a motion to approve the resolution 2021-72.
I'll second that.
First and second, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Cheeks,
Aye.
Kootman,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Tell,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Landine,
Aye.
Mayor Corman.
Aye. Thanks, Krista. Nobody has anything else? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Does the city attorney need anything?
What?
City attorney doesn't.
I do not have anything for the council. To everyone's applause.
I'll make a
and
motion
pleasure.
to adjourn the meeting.
Just a clarification, we're still on for the study session Wednesday night?
Thank you, yes. I should have mentioned that, but yes, Wednesday night is the budget study session. The agenda for that just went out, and it will be at the library basement at 6 o'clock on Wednesday, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Y'all
Is it-
have a good night.
Is anybody going to oppose that?
I would think not.
Not it made it to the next meeting.
You have to go out and watch some YouTube ones, you'll see somewhere.
We're getting things done on the list, too.
That's what's nice.
Yeah, we get stuff done. We're getting stuff done. And I hope, and I feel like we have a